like how it's almost like similar to the stuff that you were doing with DJ Paint One, except a lot more like lo-fi, like you know, a lot like it's weird. It's almost like it's stripped down to like a lo-fi version of it, but then like there's still like a lot of sounds going on. Almost like yeah, like you packed in you know, so much musically in there, but then like strip it down to like a more lo-fi sound. So what made you do that kind of decision on that?
I mean, because I don't have any control over my art. You know, I just make it. And I don't know. I mean, the truth is, I just love this beat. I love this beat so much. I had so much fun fucking with this shit that when it came time to like start producing music on my own, well, first of all, I'm using his drums, so it's all DJ Pain One drum kits that I've been rocking on this shit. So, yeah, so I'm just like rocking. I mean, that's why the beats sound like DJ Pain One beats, because I'm fucking rocking DJ Pain One beats. But yeah, and I just like, I just like sample shit. I tried to just let go and make a record that I thought would be fun, and just have fun with it, and make things that like I didn't labor over too hard, or shit that I didn't like treat like a fucking science project, and I just made it more impulsive, and I don't know, like I feel like the whole stream of consciousness approach to making music, it's like it's magic. Like I don't have any control over it. So that's really there's no intention behind it, I guess is what I'm saying. It's like it's just I just make a fucking music that I like, and if it moves me, I like it. And like last year, I mean, this is all shit I made through Patreon, and I made like whatever, another 20 songs or something that I just threw away, that I didn't do anything with. So that's kind of how I make shit. I just make a ton of shit, and then
Leave what you like.
yeah, and like, and if it's whack, I'm not gonna be able to make it good. And if it's good, then that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. I mean, would you ever put out something that like you weren't feeling as much, but like you made it and you're like, hey, this is just like, I don't know, my not as good side. Like,
yeah, I mean, I did that with Live from Rome, that record.
Really? That's one of my favorite albums by you.
I mean, I just wasn't that pumped with that record. There was so many dynamics, and I just, I was like stuck out there in Spain. I didn't have any other producers to work with, so I was just like, fuck it, if I don't put this album out, I'm gonna be dead. So I better drop this fucking record quick. So yeah, that. But again, this person's like saying, oh, that's a great album, and it's like, yeah, I mean, people like it. And so that's like sometimes like shit I don't like, people really like. And so like with Patreon, part of like the thing with this album, I just put it out there to people like, hey, what are your favorite songs? What are your least favorite songs? Like I was surprised at what people's least favorite songs were. And so some of people's least favorite songs are my favorite. And so it's like I kind of like,
well, this album,
like, okay, no, this shit's dope. Like, let me make a different beat and make a different version of that song. And I made a new version of the song, and I'm like pumped on it. And then other people are like, oh, I like the original better. It's like, you can't. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's useful to get feedback from people, but really, where I'm at now, it's like I'd rather just make music that I'm pumped on than.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way with that. It's like, oh well, that's what I wanted to make, so there it is. Like, unless it's like if a song's like for someone or something, but otherwise it's just like, this is what I was feeling. That's what I needed to create. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hold up, my dog wants to come in the studio.
AndyCon and stuff. But I think Live from Rome was the one where I was like, all right, like I'm gonna follow this artist. I'm gonna see what he's about. Like that was the one that like really caught me. Cause like I still like I like Bottle of Humans and like selling live water at the time. But like I was still probably I probably banged Dose One a lot more still at that time. But then Live from Rome is kind of when I shifted over and started banging more soul, you know. So
each their own. Well, I'm gonna promote this real quick. They're live now. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a whack record. I mean, I think the reason why people like that album is because it's like a step forward of me being more intentional about songs. And I mean, there's great stuff about that album. It's just, that was just a really difficult time. Like, it's tougher to live in exile than being an illegal migrant in another country than you might think.
That makes sense because like I feel like just like how you're feeling, I think too, sometimes goes across to like how you feel about the album. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I have one album like where like a lot of people like it, and like just because of what I was going through at the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you guys like it, but like I don't think I'd ever make an album like that again, you know. Whereas like now, like the stuff that I'm working on, just because I'm in just a more like joyful mind state, like I more appreciate the work that I'm making, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I mean, life's crazy, man, and being an artist is fucked up. So.
Yeah, and I know one thing. What struck me as interesting, like with this album, it actually. Like, because of the content and, like, a lot of the subject matter, like, I feel like this is actually really, like, your darkest album. like, as far as you get, like, but then, like, there's little, like, glimpses too, like, but, like, this is the, because you, like on The Man's Best Friend, sometimes, like, you'll mention your wife, but, like, on this one, like, you're like, yeah, the only thing I'm doing good is, like, I got a happy marriage, and, you know what I mean? Those are, like, the little, like, glimmers of hope and, like, all this, like, darkness on this album. So,
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, like, the word dark, I don't know, man. I mean, it's a bleak album, man. I'm having to, it's like, it's the process of, like, getting ready to have a kid and then having one and thinking about, like, what that shit means, and, like, I don't have much hope. I don't feel like, we're leaving much for our kids, but I feel like, well, fuck, man, we can't let these fucking rednecks breed us out, We need to leave someone's got to be around to, someone's got to be around to, I don't know to fucking pick up the pieces, and that's really what I see. This album is bleak because it's fucking bleak, man. I mean, I've engaged in all this struggle, and then I get out there, and then it's like you see like what struggle looks like under Trump, and it's fucking depressing, man. It's a bunch of liberals like running around with signs, like, it's like where's the militant? Where's the mass movement? Where are people coming together to really confront power? Like, it's not happening, So, like there are people who try to put a positive spin on this shit constantly, and like I don't find that useful. I think it's useful to
I mean, like, I don't know. It's a weird thing because, like, in a sense, like, it needs to be documented, right? But, like, does it? I don't know. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So it's like, I don't know, like I'm not hopeful. I don't think, I mean, it doesn't make me a nihilist or anything, but I don't think that, like, I don't think we're gonna get Trump to step down. I don't think we're gonna have a revolution. I don't think, I just don't, I think shit's just gonna fucking get worse. And so
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm gonna make political, if I'm gonna make political music, then I want to be honest with people, because, there's shit we can do, but, so I don't know. I'm just a poet.
Yeah, on that though, like, cause on one of my favorite tracks actually of this album, yeah, you get going onto that like very very like sarcastically, you're like, yeah, wishful thinking fixes everything, and on that like and like I've talked to like some of my soldier friends about this and like of that like optimistic attitude though, because like my feeling is always though that like rather optimism doesn't necessarily like fix things, but I feel like we can't really do great things without that mindset. You know what I mean? Like you like having a positive mindset and it changes the situation. You know what I mean? Like rather than like just being like if you can, even though it's like if the times and the matters are really bleak, you know what I mean? But if you go into it with like a negative mindset, then like it's like then how could we do positive things? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, let's talk about The Secret, man. I don't know. I mean, like, I believe, like, it's one thing a friend said to me that I really believe is, like, if we are, I do kind of believe in, like, the power of intention or whatever. And if we, if I set my mind to a goal, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this shit. This is what I'm going to do. And I might not know how I'm going to do it, but my subconscious mind, as I'm sleeping, as I'm going through the day, will set itself to those goals. And so I might do things that I don't understand, or things that don't seem to make sense, or things that don't add up. And, your brain is more powerful than you know. And so, if you're thinking like, if you're like setting, I think that's like positive thinking and like intentionality are two very different things though. You know what I mean? Because like positive thinking is like hope, and it's like Oprah, and it's like this bullshit that like people think like, oh, if I just think positive, like good things are gonna happen to me and whatever. Yeah. But we have to be working towards those things. And so it's like I know what I'm positive about. I'm positive about my fucking garden. I'm positive about my music. I'm positive about educating people about anarchist ideas and like exploring like what it means to build a new world in the shell of the old and like what it really means to build power. But I'm not like blindly optimistic about it because I feel like that's fucking suicidal right now, and it's like new age bullshit, and it causes us to go into ourselves when really we should be reaching out. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, shit. If I wasn't optimistic, I would just be, doing God knows what right now.
Yeah.
I'd be in the army with your friends, I guess. Dig a dig.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you feel that that's kind of like a necessary, that kind of military-industrial complex? Do you think it's still necessary at this time, or?
Fuck no.
Because I mean, I feel like also, like we're so much in that whole that like, I mean, that like like that's what dug us in this hole, so we kind of also needed to dig us out in a way?
No, I don't think so. I think, I can't imagine a single, the only, like, basically if I was in control of the army right now, I would just be like, look, like, actually I wouldn't be in control of the army, but no, I don't think that. like, there's nothing good that comes out of that shit. There's nothing good that can come out of the military, except the internet, and the internet sucks. So, fuck it, you know. Like, no one wants to attack us. You know, we don't need an army. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, also no one wants to attack us because we have that, right? Partially.
No one's attacking anyone. Like, look at the, like, people, it's not fucking, you know, 1400s. Like, people are not invading, you know? Not only that, like, the United States is so heavily armed that, like, you're talking about, like, a guerrilla war that would just wage on and on and on. Like, no one would ever, like, if you got rid of the military right now, no one would invade us. Like, it would be just a total waste of resources. Like, even China, they would have to kill everyone in this fucking country, you know?
That's the sentiment I felt with, like, you know, people getting, I'm glad I wanted to bring that up to you, because, you know, a lot of people need to relax about the whole, like, Korea thing, right now. I mean, because Korea's always kind of done this cycle of, like, oh, well, we're just gonna, like, nuke everyone, and then we're like, oh, well, be quiet, and then, like, nothing happens, and it just drizzles out. And it seems like there's, you know, in order to, you know, keep, of course, this complex going, like, you know, then they're always creating a new enemy again and again, and it's like, just needlessly getting people over anxious about when, you know, in distracting us from, you know, real problems that we're having, you know, like different laws that they're trying to, like, get passed behind, you know, without people noticing and whatnot.
We're going back to some medieval age shit right now. I mean, like, what, like, the way, like, you know, back in the, you know, days, the medieval ages where, like, you know, people would invade countries if somebody fucked someone's sister, you know, in the, you know, 1000 AD, you know, in Europe and shit. Like, that's the way these used to get handled. Like, if, like,
like to how you start off this album. Going to that point. You talk about how like you know fighting your own battles, and we begin this album talking about how like you were like a diamond in the rough, like found in the Occupy movement. Do you feel like when that whole Occupy movement, do you feel like that was like a catalyst kind of for like you progressing, in this like kind of like anarcho, mind state of?
First of all, I love that you really listened to the album and picked those subtleties because what I'm really talking about, like I'm talking about myself, but I'm also talking about like this new, this new human, this new revolutionary actor. I think it's in an Occupy Square I was found anti-diamond in the rough. But I'm also thinking of like I say Occupy Square, really like to me like this moment we're in begins in Tunisia. It begins in the Arab Spring. It begins, at least in our modern era, it begins in those movements. And whether it's the Indignados, whether it's the movement of the squares in Greece, these broad based groups with radical potential, where people all over the world are basically engaging in anarchist practices. And so it's like I'm not specifically talking. I'm talking about both things at once there. So I'm talking about myself. Yes, I always like identified with like Karl Marx. I always identified with Emma Goldman and like Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn, that kind of anarchism. But I never really hung out with any anarchists, so I couldn't really it didn't feel right to me to go around calling myself that or identifying as such because I wasn't engaged in struggle. I was, if anything, I was like totally on my own. After the Anacon shit, I was bitter. I stayed away from people. From like 2005 to 2011, I lived in the mountains. I lived in the desert. I didn't, like, other than Skyrider, I didn't have any friends. Skyrider band were like my only friends for 6 years. Just me, my wife, and my dogs living on a creek.
I saw you when you were performing with them up in Sacramento. I think that's when we first met in person. You couldn't say my name.
Nice. But yeah, we, and I love those guys. They're still like, my best friends. But yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. I know all those social movements I just talked about, like some of them ended in, some of them are like, what is it? Some of those are like, end up in like electoral politics and illustrate the failure of electoral politics. Like every single one of those movements, there's like politicians trying to ride on the backs of that shit to like be the,
Well, I feel like they strip stuff out. Bernie Sanders kind of died down now, but like he took a few of those ideas, but not like in full practice. It was kind of weird. He kind of used it for that left populist movement. But I think it's interesting though that despite how renowned Noam Chomsky is within like the scholarly world, at least his ideas really, as far as like the politicians, they haven't utilized them to like any real degree. Maybe the
yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Noam Chomsky. I feel like I don't look to him for I don't look to him as far as like I don't consider him an anarchist theorist, to be honest. I consider him to be more of somebody who has an awesome analysis of foreign policy, but his ideas around anarchism, from what I've seen, are more for our society. So, what are
Right. Yeah. I think eventually, I think we're like so, like we still need to get out of the struggles we're in now. Like I think, I think Noam Chomsky's theories though. I think it would make a good like stepping block. That's why I'm really entertained by his thought. I think as far as like a jump off like transition period, I think he has the most sound ideas.
I don't know.
It's abstract theoretical, I guess, but
yeah, I would pretend to know how. I mean, if anybody knew how we're gonna solve the situation we're in, we'd already be out of it. If it was easy, like if Noam Chomsky was right, we'd already be living in a fucking utopia. You know, I mean,
except that no one like listens to that, except like I don't know.
And again, like I just don't feel like I think if I was to look at models now, where like I think what's happening in Rojava, what's happening in Chiapas, and like other smaller projects like that. I mean, again, like I always talk about Tarnac, France, as like when we talk about building the new world in the shell of the old, like that to me is going to be how we do it. It's not like we're not going to have a revolution. We're not going to overthrow the state. We're not going to seize power, in my opinion. Like, because every time people have done that, we end up with dictators. And like when I picture syndicalism, which is what Chomsky proposes, that just seems like a shitty future. Where like we take over the Amazon warehouses. Now they're the people's Amazon warehouses. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Noam Chomsky also said that.
Yeah, I don't agree with Chomsky on that idea. Yeah. I'm too experienced for that.
I like Noam Chomsky when he talks about foreign policy. I owe him a lot in that regard, but he's not who I would look to. I think David Graeber has better ideas, than Noam Chomsky. So.
And jumping off of that, that future of where we don't have to work. I'm in that sentiment because on the last song of the album, Nothing Lasts Forever, like you talk about how you just want to rap your ass off and learn all you can, and and I definitely identify with that sentiment because all I want to do is just like create art and like love people. That's the DJ where everyone just gets to like express themselves and there's an abundance of everything. There's everyone can eat and be plentiful. We don't really need that workforce unless of course capitalism. We want then that cycle of wanting things or whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. People make it really. It's like all I want to do is love people, but people make it impossible to do that. Kind of dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's like I often think, well, like what is worth it? Because I would rather. I mean, I didn't really realize how much time I spent working until I had a kid, and then I didn't have any time anymore, and I was like, oh my god. But shit like cooking, that's reproductive labor, and me in my yard, gardening all day, and trying to produce experimenting with organizing and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And that's the problem with people like Noam Chomsky, is like they're up in an ivory tower, you know, saying like, this is what history says. And I feel like, you know, real life is messier than that. And so it's like, you know, for me the struggle is like, how do we live, you know, and with anarchism it's like prefigured in politics. Like, how do we live these values now? How do we prefigure the world that we want now, so that like we're not waiting to seize power. We're not waiting to you know, we're doing it now. And that's, you know, that's like the challenge, because we live under capitalism. We live in a fucking totalitarian state where you get, you know, 100 years in fucking prison for saying fuck Trump on Inauguration Day. You know, and like, and it's shit I take seriously. You know, I'm like looking at my life now and I'm like, how the fuck do I change my life this year, right now? How do I remove myself from a bunch of bullshit in society? You know, by this time next year, I'll probably, you know, be engaging in a land project. I'll probably be, who knows? I don't know. So, but
I think,
how do we do it? How do we do it now? And I'm not talking about like eating out of. I'm not talking about like, you know, being marginal. I'm not talking about, you know, going and living in a junkyard and eating shit for the rest of my life. Like, I think we can have a nice quality of life, but also be like engaging in projects that are like, you know, building our capacity, increasing our freedom, increasing our liberty, not liberty, but our liberation, and but also like challenging power. I mean, you know, that's the challenge. You know, that's the challenge with this shit. Is like, because man,
I think those small steps in that direction are being made. Like I've spent some time like at the Rainbow Family communes. You know,
yeah,
they had like, they had like, you know, full off the grid, like these communes where you know, they're building their own crops and everything, and you know, making this self-sustained type life where like, yeah, we can do this and keep it sustained and, you know, environmentally beneficial, to where, you know, we don't need the grid, we don't need the powers that be. And like, I mean, you know, granted it's only so many people, but it shows that it can be done, you know.
I mean, like, that's a perfect example, man. Like a fish concert is like a temporary autonomous zone, and there's a reason why at Occupy, you know, the people who like threw down the hardest, like the people who were throwing shit at the cops, the people who were burning shit, like it wasn't the liberals, it was the motherfucking juggalos and people who gatherings, man. They don't give a fuck, man. But they also know how to like show up at shit, like the Burning Man type of motherfuckers too. Like they know how to show up at shit, they know how to set up a kitchen, like they know how to do shit, and like those skills are.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Burning Man people, because like aside from Burning Man, you know, they have a lot of other events too, and like, I mean, they'll go there, gather in the middle of a desert, you know, and just like build these incredible structures. It's like, you know, and then party hard for like a couple weeks. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, one of my friends who's not an anarchist, this guy Telephone Jim Jesus, total hedonist, but he would
really
live as if you're free. You know, live as if you're free, and like that's what I like about that shit. I mean, you know, the problem is like when he gets into like total drug addiction, and that's not revolutionary. You know, to me.
Yeah, that's the trap.
Yeah, I mean that ends one way, or no, that ends in a good number of ways, but one way is death.
Either way, it doesn't. You know, it's like a mirage. You know, like, oh, here's all the amazing things of life, and then snatching for your eyes. Like, yeah, I know that.
Right, and like that also points to a lot of this stuff about like land projects and building it, you know, and it's like becoming an exercise in privilege. if you have a fucking trust fund to just follow fish around for 3 months and make pretend, or and then you know.
And a lot of people do that.
And I'm losing that situation, or even like some like projects that aren't like linking up with sharing resources with people who need them, but like not doing so in a way that it's like charity, So it's complicated, man. It's not easy. I don't think I've succeeded in anything.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because always when you try to do those self-sustaining societies, you always because you want to make it in a way to like where we're all like giving in abundance, but then you're always gonna have those assholes that want to like fuck it up for everyone, who are gonna just want to mooch, and it's like because they don't realize, they're stuck in this mindset of that competition, which is driven from marketplace, right? So they don't see that we all have an abundance to give, and so like you're always going to have those people within that type of like giving society that are just going to, be there maliciously trying to take away from it,
I don't know. I mean, I've definitely been in situations where people take more than they give, but I feel like the way to be is to not worry about that, and people who want to contribute, and like, I mean, because I believe in like an egalitarian society and horizontal structures, communities built on mutual aid, and not everyone is equally strong. Not everyone is equally smart. Not everyone is the same, and so people's needs are all different. That's I believe it was Bakunin who said, to each their own according to their needs, or I don't know, but
well, I think even within the society we're living in now, that can help as a function, like, even within a capitalist society, because, like, people, I think now, like, everything's so, hyperbolized that, like, it's like, oh, it's like, you're a communist or you're a capitalist, but I think a good, like, jumping point, in fact, within our capitalist society, if we, utilized a lot more, like, socialism, type things, like, you know what I mean, it would actually be a lot better for our society. I don't think there's any reason that within our structure, our type of capitalism can't work along with the socialist idea. I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean, I guess.
For instance, like even us paying taxes for the government to redistribute certain things like healthcare and such. I mean, on a level, that's socialism in a way. You know what I mean? So like, why not just take it out all the way with that and have full on socialist type constructs within the society that we're living in now. To where so where we have some things that work as the capitalist system that we have, and some things work as a socialist system, because we're doing that anyway to small degrees.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are people doing that. There are people working on that. More power to them. I hear what you're saying, and like, yeah, I mean, it will be, while we live under capitalism, while we have a state and a government, I'd like to get some free shit out of it. I pay taxes.
Who doesn't want free shit?
I pay property taxes. I pay the police a salary. Fuck with me. I pay for the schools. I pay for the fucking drones. And so, sure, while those things, but it's like me as somebody. For me, it's like figuring out ways to meet those needs without the state. Because everything the state gives you, they can take away. Like as we're seeing with Trump Care, people fought for this bullshit ass Obamacare bill. It got passed. People fucking, it sucked. It was so fucked up for a lot of people. like putting however much money working class people gave to Bernie. Like, let's say it's fucking $500 million that was given to Bernie. It's like, what if instead of giving it to that motherfucker, we'd set up healthcare co-ops and trusts that could just give everybody who needs it free healthcare? Like, you know, if people would be willing to give money to that shit.
Yeah. You should bounce that idea around to all your liberal base, because I was calling for the DNC, and a lot of them were really pissed at how they screwed up and like gave all their money where they were trying to donate to Bernie, and they passed it over to Hillary. Like, so that's what split the liberal party so much. Like, because there's so many people investing in these politicians when we can just invest in the programs themselves. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like these aren't like my ideas. Like, I'm stealing them from much smarter people who I talk to and talk to on my podcast or call on the phone when I'm like frustrated. And like none of it's easy, but like it might be easier than petitioning the government because the system is set up to not really be able to meet the needs of people like us. The system's set up to benefit the wealthy. We're basically cattle to them. They don't give a fuck.
As well as the justice system. It's all, yeah. The people believe, man. They turn to the people once they're like forced to.
Yeah. Just a heads up. My wife is going to a concert tonight, so I'm gonna be on dad duty in about 10 minutes. So
all right.
It's up in about 8 minutes or so.
Okay. Let's see. I had a question I wanted to get to. So like the end of the album. Just a few points I want to touch on before we end. Like you talk about some of your homies burning too bright, and I love that concept. I love the imagery of that idea. Tell me some about that, and then also I wanted to touch on like your like basically like from this album and maybe any future endeavors you want to do. Like, how do you want to go from like just like the art that you give to the world to I was watching Jeezy, who I know you're a big fan of as well. He was talking about like using his art and other like aspects of his life in the world to make all these positive changes, and like basically how he's using his art as like really this kind of gateways for him to like bring all this good to the world. And so like what are kind of your plans, I guess, and like how you want to do that with your art?
Well, I mean, I guess the first thing to answer the first question, first of all, please send me that interview. I would love to watch that. I've never watched the Young Jeezy interview, and what's going on here? Oh shit! For some reason, wait, hold on a second. It's switched around now.
Yeah, push the button on the bottom right.
But hey, it's not art dope. It's not otter.
Is that a groundhog?
Here's some more otters. Okay.
Oh, otters?
I'm busted. I love animals.
Thank God for otters.
Burnt, right? I'm literally in that line of my friend Martin Worth, who people can look him up online. He is someone who was a much older man, and he came to Occupy, as almost like a right-wing libertarian, and he got radicalized, and he, came there as like a patriarchal dude, and like started like confronting his own patriarchy, and becoming more of just a regular awesome dude, and he deeply empathized with like the plight of people who were being evicted from their homes. And so when he started learning about the foreclosure crisis, he decided to stop paying his mortgage. And when finally they went to so he got evicted from his house and tried to engage in like foreclosure resistance, and it didn't work. And then he got kicked out, and then finally he went back to his house. And when the sheriffs came hospital, and he died. And I think about him a lot because, first of all, it's crazy all the people I've met through Occupy who are dead now. This guy Tim Callahan, an anarchist. This woman Nicole, who was like this schizophrenic religious woman. She was awesome. My friend Steve Bailey, who was also involved with foreclosure resistance, fucking shot himself in the hip a little while ago. And it's like, man, these people who, you know, who come to these social movements, like, you know, they really live this shit and they're really putting it out there, and like that pain is fucking real. And so, you know, for me, you know, I'm like, I've been reading this Cindy Milstein Rebellious Morning book, and it's really like just making me think about you know, the power of like speaking for those who are gone and to keep them alive in music. And even my dad, I always talk about my dad in my music, and he's like this negative and positive force. As far as what am I doing with my music, I mean, I'm already doing it. You know, I got the podcast. I helped launch this Channel Zero podcast network. I'm always constantly thinking of how I can like leverage whatever I have from the rap world to turn that into, to use that social capital. You know, and I get granted a lot of opportunities that a lot of other people don't have access to because I'm a musician. Like, people are more patient with me in my evolution, in my politics, because I'm a musician. So I get to really you know, do this shit. But it's like, so what's next for me? I mean, I'm on some fucking doomsday prepper shit, man. You know, it is my intention to get the fuck out of where I'm living right now, buy a whole shit ton of land, and try to really learn to live off the land and like pass those skills on. You know, I've been really interested in permaculture lately, but like so much permaculture shit is just so fucking stupid that it's like, for me, I want to like figure out like anarchist approaches to these things in ways that are like truly like engaging in struggle, because it's like I shouldn't say engaging in struggle. Struggle is going to happen. We're going to struggle, but it's like, I'm tired of all my gestures evaporating into the air. I want to see more. I want to see like infrastructure. I want to see things build. I want to see us get stronger and more powerful and be able to really actively confront this shit. So for me, like, you know, I love Guy Debord, even though he was a piece of shit, but it's like, you know, I always think about what he said, that we must go beyond art. Like, it's not enough to make a protest song. It's not enough for me to fucking research and know a bunch of shit. It's like, what does it mean? How does that shit inform my life, and what can I do? But again, I don't want to sound like I'm some fucking militant badass who's out there fucking shit up all the time, because I'm not. I haven't done shit for the last year. I've just been raising my kid. And even when I have, it's not like I'm out there, you know, punching police in the face or, you know, doing really militant shit. I mean, I love that shit. I support it, but that's like not me. I'm not like the kind of dude who punches people. If you fuck with me, I'll fuck with you back. But it just hasn't gotten to that point. I mean, not to say it won't. But like so it's like for me, it's like really trying to be careful and honest in my music about like what I really believe. Like, you know, if you listen to shit I was doing 5 years ago, it's all like Molotovs and, you know, this and that. And it's like, you know, nowadays it's like, actually, I've seen people, you know, talking that kind of shit, you know, end up like getting trumped up charges and looking at fucking 10 years, 20 years in prison just because of their language. And it's like, it's important that like we you know, that I recognize that all this shit has weight, and like, you know, I have to be real about what I'm advocating for and promoting, because I know what I'm doing. You know, that again, it's like, I love, like, the most inspiring shit I saw last year was a Standing Rock in J20, and that was not some sign holding peaceful ass bullshit. But again, like, I'm actually working on a book right now that's coming out through PM Press, which is like a huge anarchist publisher. It's called Insurgent Rap, and it's all about, like, it's basically like taking excerpts from my interviews and, like, talking about how other artists influence how their art and their activism, and sort of like how other artists engage in struggle. And I only interviewed, well, for the most part, people who are actually organizers. So, you know, so that's one thing I want to. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I want to do. I'd love to write a book about me personally. I want to write a book about like anarchism and situationists, because I feel like there's like so many things there that are like
Situationist International.
Yeah. Like there's
Yeah,
so much.
talk a little about that.
I love that shit. I mean, you know, again, it's for me. You know, that's just what got me. You know, for some people nowadays, it's like Max Stirner or whatever. Like, hey, whatever. But like that's not. You know, my shit is keyboard. That's what got me at a certain age. And Emma Goldman, like that's what rattles around in my mind. Definitely would love to write a sci-fi novel. I have like 30 of them. I don't have time to take a shower, let alone write a fucking novel right now. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know, we'll see how much I get done, and where it all goes. I just go where the wind blows me and try to not get, you know, drowned by the rising tides, man.
Yeah, man. Well, stay above waters, homie. Yeah, I appreciate the album. Appreciate you doing the interview.
It was fun. I've never done this before. I didn't even know how it worked. So it was a cool idea, man. You know, I got home from Costco just in time. You know. So it's all love, man. Now I'm gonna go. I don't know what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna crawl around and you know, see if I can't make this motherfucker laugh all night. That's my real job now.
Nice. Yeah, dude. Much love to you and your fam. Y'all take care.
Catch you next time, homie. Peace out, man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Peace and love and all that.